What's going on, people? Welcome to another episode of the Off the Ball podcast with me, your host, Chris LeBron. And on today's show, I got a special guest on the podcast today, someone that I've been following on Twitter for a while and have definitely loved the work he's been doing. And he has definitely one of the best podcasts on the in the NBA world. So I'm really happy to have him on the show today. I got Zach Noble of the Four Seasons podcast. Zach, what's going on, my man?
Appreciate you having me, man. Not a whole lot, just winding down, counting down the hours to the season. I mean, been ready for this day a long time, and I think it's actually going to happen finally. I was a little hesitant last week, and yeah. I think I'm 100% on board. It's finally going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously the craziness of what's going on in the world. Obviously, coronavirus halted the season months ago, and it seems like we're finally getting back. So, just first, how have you been dealing with coronavirus and all the craziness in the world right now?
I'm blessed to be able to have a job that was considered essential, even though I sell luxury vehicles. Yeah. I sell RVs for a family business. That's kind of my day job, and
awesome.
My 9 to 5 gig, even though it's not 9 to 5, it's 9 to whenever the customer leaves me alone. That sort of thing.
I used to work in the field too, so I understand how that works.
Yeah, absolutely. No, but we're blessed. Business is booming. We're one of the few companies that have thrived throughout this. I mean, it's the best year for our company and the industry as itself. But honestly, it's been a blessing too, because I had a newborn son and got to spend more time with him.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
On that.
It's been good. So nobody in my family, I mean, I've had people that have gotten it and whatnot, but nobody's been really seriously impacted by it. So knock on wood there. But
that's a
other
blessing.
than that, honestly, no complaints. Been able to find time to keep the passions flowing and growing as an individual, and that's all that matters. I mean, there's people that are going to stay stagnant and make excuses during these times, and I haven't been one of them, thankfully.
Yeah. It's this time is, obviously not having sports and stuff for a lot of people, in the, who make sports content. It's, a lot of people were freaked out, like, oh my God, like, how do I, and I'm sure you've had moments where you're like, oh my God, what am I going to talk about? I know I had, like, all right, how am I going to create content? And, you just got to be creative. You just have to find ways to create content and make it, because like I said, you could be stagnant and be like, all right, I'm not going to do this no more, and that's it, because there's no sports, I can't talk about it. But there's always something to talk about, even in, like I said, we haven't seen a major sport in months, but you still got to find ways to figure out what to talk about, and there's always something, especially in the NBA. No matter what, there's still stuff to talk about.
Yeah, I've been, as for the basketball side of things, I've definitely taken more weeks off on the podcast, but doesn't mean my intelligence and education on the game has been slowing down, and I've been definitely focusing more on the NBA draft and studying up there and doing my homework on the guys coming in, and it's been nice to be able to get the time and adequate time to be able to do that. I'm feeling really good about this year's draft, and outside of that, it's just getting creative and what you want to talk about. I've sharpened up my top 100 all-time list, stuff like that. But I mean, it's been hard for me and my partner to come up with concept. We've still gotten some good guests, and we've never taken more than 2 weeks off during this time. But we've been pretty forward going, I guess, for the most part. I mean, I don't know too many shows that haven't declined a little bit during this time, but as the NBA announced its comeback and getting more players back on the show, things have been rising.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. So about your show, how did the show come about? How was that process?
Yeah, so I've always wanted to break into the NBA world, honestly, since like 5th grade, even younger, when I was lucky growing up to have season tickets to the Timberwolves. I was just a huge diehard KG Wolves fan. That's KG, MJ, Kobe. That's what got me into the NBA. And then for the longest time, I always wanted to break into the NBA somehow, and I thought it was going to be on the agent side of things. And I went to school to get certified as an agent.
I took the same route too.
A couple players overseas, and I represented a few guys here and there, but nothing crazy, and nothing ever really
Yeah.
hit. I had a couple good chances, but I built a lot of good relationships along the way, and
That's important.
so that's really helped me with this podcast. And as soon as I realized I wasn't going to necessarily make it in that realm, I'm like, all right, I got to just do it for myself. And the podcasting world allows you to do that. So I kind of figured this out and I just went for it. And what really did it for me is I met a partner when I moved to Kansas City from Boston, um, that wanted to start a podcast too. And he wanted to do the part of the podcast I didn't want to do, and that was the editing and all the video stuff.
That's the tough
And
part. Yep, that's the hardest part.
I like doing the business side of it,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
building the relationships, and that's my job on the show. And we thought we combined pretty well, and 3 years later we're rolling. So he was an XD2 national champion, and so we got a couple different points of view. I mean, he's more, you can say he's a little more laid back, not so serious, likes to talk from a player's perspective a little bit, but likes to talk about a lot of different things and randomness compared to me. I like to talk more stats and structure and history of the game, and
Mm-hmm.
they combined it, and we kind of it's been going well. I mean, we've still been growing till this day. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely tough to keep going after all these years. I
Yeah,
mean, especially if it's not full time,
exactly.
people
Yeah.
don't understand how much work goes into it, and the commitment to want to keep going when you're not full time at this. So
Exactly.
I'm just proud of that, and I see it more as a fun thing, and hopefully we keep growing, but we'll see. I just enjoy it overall.
Yeah, yeah. So how did you get? Because you're a part of the Balls Life podcast group.
Yep.
How did that come about? Because that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So really just started with small companies and grew as our show grew. We gained more attraction and attention, and just through connections and relationships and getting noticed, really. Just bigger guests started coming in, and
Yeah,
I mean, we've had over 150 plus guests on our show, and
it's awesome.
50 plus current NBA players. And I like to think outside of Woj and Shams, I mean, my phone book's pretty good. uh,
That's awesome.
but where will it get me? Who knows? We'll see. But at the end of the day, it's just been a blast and a fun ride. But we like to focus on the role players and guys that, I mean, aren't necessarily the top of the top, because
Yeah,
those
yeah.
guys open up a little more, and um,
Yeah,
definitely want to get those guys too. But I mean,
yeah. Of course, yeah.
it takes time.
Yeah, I'm and I've gone to that same boat. I've had a lot of like probably like second round to undrafted like NBA draft guys on the show, and
Okay,
like you
cool.
said, like they open up more and they get excited when
Right.
they come on show because they don't really get that opportunity like the big time the top 10 guys probably get bombarded with interviews and stuff. So I reached out to a lot of the low level draft guys, and I've developed good relationships, and
Good.
and I think that's very important to develop those relationships with those guys, because you never know, those guys
Oh
can
yeah,
get just as big as the top 10 guys. So
for sure.
that's kind of the route I've kind of taken. And of course, we all want the big name guys, of course, on the show, but I think it's just as cool to reach out to those lower tier guys and have a dope conversation with those guys. I think that's just as
Well,
cool.
everybody's got a story, and I mean, I think
Yeah,
the role players and the guys that aren't out there as much, I feel like they're willing to share it on a much higher level, and
yeah.
take it a little bit deeper with you, because I mean, they don't get it all the time,
Hmm.
and at the same time, I mean, they don't feel like they need up to hold the walls up as much as the others.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Sure, I've definitely seen that with the guys I've had on my show too, with the same thing. But who's some of your favorite guests you've had on your podcast so far?
Everybody always asks me that. I mean, it's tough. It changes all the time. So, and it's kind of like the guy we recently had that's really good. Like recently, just had on Troy Brown. We're releasing that next week. Troy Brown Jr. And that dude, I mean, super fluent, super open, really fun life, and he's just a young kid that he's just really excited for finally getting his opportunity, and
Yeah,
knows what the potential he has, and um, just I mean he's just happy to be there and understanding the process, you know, and
Yeah, yeah.
just you can see his energy and charisma,
Hmm.
and hear it, I guess, when he's talking, but not everybody gets to see it. But outside of him, Jonathan Isaac, Myers Leonard, Mark Cuban, I mean, biggest non-basketball player.
That's big time.
He's just, I mean, he was just down to earth, and he came out and said he's for sure going to run for president on our show. That was fun. So I kind of holding him to it because I'm like, dude, your window is now. You got to go while the window is now. Right when we got shit.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
Right. He'll definitely have my vote.
right. No, I'd vote for him for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
But with that said, I mean, it just depends what the type of, whether it's an analyst, whether it's,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, because you have
I
Adam
mean,
Lefko on the show. You've had BJ
yeah, he was
Armstrong. I mean,
excellent.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And Lefko seems like
absolutely.
a cool dude.
It's really, he was great, and we was the most non-basketball conversation we ever had. We were talking more football than anything, and
Yeah, yeah.
so that
Oh,
was
he's a big football guy. Yeah, yeah.
fun and different for us. So it just depends what you want. If you want personality, just talking, chopping it up,
Hmm.
just talking shit back and forth, or else
Yeah, yeah,
getting
yeah.
into a life story. I mean, Myers Leonard talking about his journey, and we've gone pretty deep with some of these guys, and then others where it's just talking Fortnite, stuff like that, you know. So there's a little something for everybody, and those are just some of the ones that come to mind right away. And we've been lucky, though. I mean, all the players that have come on, knock on wood, have gotten better since they've been on our show.
Oh, so you
We
guys got some.
got the little magic
You
dust.
got the yeah, you got the magic wand over there. That's pretty cool. That's awesome. So all right, so let's get into this. This NBA talk. Obviously, the NBA is coming back, and we got the bubble. We got the bubble situation and all that. And some guys have, we saw Russell Westbrook get tested positive and all that. And obviously this is a tough situation. You don't prepare for a pandemic. There's nothing in the handbook for Adam Silver that says this is how you deal with a pandemic. You got to figure this. And he's got to figure this out on the fly. And it seems like he's, out of all the commissioners, it seems like he's doing as good of a job as humanly possible. It is
Yeah,
not going to be perfect,
sure.
obviously, because there's no way for this to be perfect. But just talk about, the bubble and just, how you think is everything. Do you think everything is going the way it should be going right now?
Oh, I mean, for what you just said, I mean, and you said it very well. It is what it is, and
No,
I mean, nobody knows how to handle these
no.
situations. And honestly, I mean, players are eating. They're they're getting their workouts in. It looks like they're having a good time. They have all the fun in the world at their hands. I mean, the only thing they're missing is accessibility to friends and family, and that's just impossible. I mean, that's the way they designed it and set it up, and
Yeah.
every sport is saying that's impossible. So the good news is they already made up for it, getting the longest break of their life before this. So
Hmm.
I definitely think most players should be playing unless you're really sick.
Yeah.
And so, with that said, most players are playing that are in the competition. Okay, where I think the NBA screwed up is they went with too many teams. I think they
Yeah, yeah. There's way too many
should have just
teams.
done the
Yeah.
playoff teams, and sure, maybe a couple of the Western Conference teams. But the Wizards, especially,
There's
they should have asked if Beal was going to play. Okay,
yeah.
if Beal if decided he didn't want to play, then don't let him come. I mean, there's no point of the Wizards being there now.
No. No. No point.
There's the teams are set, but even if they shortened it to 7 or 6 teams, I would have been okay with it. But it's still, if they're going 22, you might as well just let all the playoff teams in the beginning. So with that said, I mean, I hate the word control. Uh, but the way these players are talking about the food and the facilities and bashing it at times, I mean, they're in $1 billion bubble. Okay, these players are coming off a little entitled. That part's driving me a little crazy. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
they changed over. I mean, just right when it first started and they had to quarantine for that 48 hours. I think that's when the kind of trash talk versus the food and the facilities started. But it's kind of died off. I don't think it's happening anymore because
Yeah.
players realized that these guys are smart dudes. They're mature. They're extremely mature for their age, and every year I've paid attention to the NBA. These players get more mature by the moment, but social media, I mean, they're just trying to get their clout and have fun. I mean, whether they're,
yeah.
I
I
don't
think a
think
lot of
anybody's
them, all those guys are just trolling or just messing with
for
people.
sure,
Like, yeah,
for sure. I can't take it that seriously, but Jay Williams had a great little spiel the other
yeah.
day of these guys being tone deaf, and
Hmm.
there's a lot of people that are leaving their families to help give these guys the
Exactly. Yeah.
best chance possible at being able to feed their families by playing basketball for many, many millions of dollars. So there's a line, and you just got to be cognizant of that. And
Yeah.
outside of that, I mean, I think things are fine. We'll see when it starts playing, but like a name like Harden, they hid the fact that he got the virus,
Hmm.
but it looks like he's recovered and he's there now. And
Yeah. He's practicing.
if he was to miss it, though, I mean, it would have been enough for me to shut it down. And like, I just I didn't think it should have happened to begin with from the beginning, just because I mean, there's just too much where why not try to go for all 82 games next year? You know that.
Yeah.
But we're here, so I'm gonna enjoy what we got, and it's not my decision. I'm gonna cover it because that's what I do, and
Hmm.
that's what I'm here to do is cover the league no matter what's going on. So yeah, I really don't have a strong take one way or the other, but I think it's fine. It's
Hmm.
okay.
Yeah.
Things are moving.
But I'm on the same boat too. As far as if they had canceled, that'd been cool. If they play, that's cool. But what happens if because obviously we've seen big names already get the virus. But what if happens if we're in the middle of the playoffs and LeBron, God forbid, gets it, or AD, or Kawhi, Paul George, one of these big names, Harden,
Right.
what if they get it, Giannis, and then you have to quarantine for 2 weeks, and then that's it. I mean, 2 weeks is, that's it. You're done. Your season's over, going to be over pretty much. If the Bucks lose Giannis, they're done. I don't care who they play. It's
Right.
going to be tough for them to overcome that. So what happens in that occurrence if that happens? Because it's
going to.
it's going to
It
happen. It's
can.
just a matter of who and how
Right.
many, right? It's
Right.
inevitable, right? So what happens if it's because listen, if it's one thing, if it's the seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th guy on the bench, you could just say, all right, go home. We'll just replace you with someone, in free agency. But if we're talking about big names, that changes everything, because then if the
Yeah.
Clippers are playing the Lakers and there's no LeBron, the Clippers beat that. Well, that's going to be it's going to be an asterisk, an unofficial asterisk. They're going to be like, oh, you beat them without, and then that might get a little tricky. How do you feel about if that were to happen and the outlook of that?
I've just fully committed to the fact that these guys they had more time to recover. Okay, they're healthier than ever. None of them have been out for a really extended period of time after getting the virus. Okay, I mean, it's a week or two. Yes, that could be crucial games or whatever, but the league's committed. If they're going to start, they're going to finish. Unless multiple people are getting it, I think it would take probably 5 to 15 big names getting it and shutting this thing down. Otherwise, I mean, call it a Game of Thrones, or I mean, it's just people can get injured anyways. You can get injured, so there's always a risk playing sports and
Of course, yeah.
Physical competition. I mean, there's always a big risk at play. So
Yeah.
throwing a pandemic, it just gets a little more riskier. I mean, it's kind of all just hit or miss. And if you get lucky, you get lucky. Every title, no matter what, when you think about it, you can say there's an asterisk for every title out
Oh
there.
yeah, the Warriors, the
I'm not in
first
the
year they
business
won.
of
Yeah.
right.
There's
I'm not in the
always.
business of making excuses, but yeah, I'll put it in context after it's all said and done when it's over.
Mhm.
But what we're committed, I'm gonna just ride this thing out. I'm not gonna make excuses and try to harp on other things, but they've already made the decision of not canceling this. So
Yeah.
you got to watch this thing play out unless a lot of players are truly getting this and having to sit down where you're only on like a 5 to 8 man roster, and
Yeah.
it's outside of that, I think you just got to play this thing out, and whatever happens, happens. I mean, you're committed. This is their life. This is what they get paid for, and they decided to play. So
Mhm.
they voted for this.
Yeah.
It was a choice.
Yeah, and it's also big for, the future salary cap and CBA negotiations. So I mean, they kind
Yep.
of, if you cancel a season, that's going to play huge into the CBA. I mean, they rip it up, and now the owners might have a lot more say, as far as how labor negotiations go, and you know how that can go. That can get ugly. So
Mm-hmm.
that's something I don't think the players want to go through. So that's another aspect of that. So all right, let's say everything's going smooth, and we get to have a full season and playoffs. Who's your favorite in the East? Who's your favorite in the West right now?
So it's the Lakers and the Bucks for me.
Agreed.
They've been all year, both those teams, but I truly think like before this bubble, there's really only three contenders, and I'd throw the Clippers in with those two teams. Now I truly think, I mean, I'd throw other teams in there that actually have a real chance. Like I think the Rockets have a chance. I think the Celtics, the
I think
Raptors,
Celtics.
the Sixers if Embiid can finish the series. I mean,
Hmm.
I think they're made for the playoffs. I really do, and I mean this is the healthiest Embiid's been all year, so I'm not ready to call them out yet. But at the end of the day, I think everybody's going to be a little out of whack, and
Oh yeah.
there's going to be players that thrive off the fans that are going to be at a disadvantage as well. So there's a lot of moving parts here, and I think this more than ever should be a wild card because there's no home court advantage either.
No, none.
So I truly think that this opens up the field more than it's ever has before, and
Hmm.
I for that I love. I mean, it's
Yeah.
going to be a lot of fun.
What do you think is going to be the toughest thing about not having fans on the court for the players? Because obviously you feed off that, especially if you got home court, you feed
Right.
off that energy. It can help you come back from 10 points down, whatever. That energy, just getting on that,
Yep.
those runs. And because we all know the NBA is a game of runs. How do you think players are going to deal with that, knowing that you're going to hear everything on the court?
For
You're
sure.
going to screen calls. You're going to hear the other team calling out plays. How do you think the players are going to handle that?
These guys are professionals. I mean, they scrimmage in empty gyms all the time. They've been doing it their whole lives, and at the end of the day, I don't think too many players are going to get impacted, but there are going to be some really big ones that do. That really, I mean, have gotten to the stage in their career where they thrive off fans and the home court and momentum and the swings. And I definitely think it's going to play a factor. I'd be shocked if it didn't. But at the end of the day, these guys are professionals and they've been doing this a long time. So it wouldn't shock me if a ton doesn't change, you know?
Yeah.
If it just plays out normally and there's not any upsets and
Mm-hmm.
the whole gamut and LeBron just runs train on all these guys.
Yeah, yeah. It probably will feel weird initially once you get on the court and tip off. Everyone's loud and you're used to that. That aspect. But once you start playing and you get in rhythm, I'm sure you're just playing ball and you won't really the lack of no fans. It won't hurt as much. But I probably the initial. I think they'll be weird and like, oh wow, there's really no one here, and then all right, it's game time, let's go, and then they'll
Do you
get
see anybody more than others like thriving off the fans and really getting a chance out of this? I mean, any upsets you see could happen, wild cards?
oh man, upsets. I mean, I,
Like for instance, guys that thrive off fans in general, for me, that I think are Westbrook and Embiid. I mean,
Westbrook
those
and
guys are Westbrook's drawn with fans in
yeah,
Utah,
yeah.
stuff like that.
And B too,
Embiid's
yeah,
always,
yeah.
yeah, always
Lillard
a
too. I think
plan.
Damian Lillard too is another guy who he feels like he's the fan base that really helps him too. So that would be interesting. But I if you talk about upsets, I'm not saying they're going to do this, but the Blazers, man. I mean, I know they'll play the Lakers in the round one. I'm not saying they're going to upset them, but I think it could be a very, very entertaining series for sure. Definitely with Nurkic coming back possibly, and Zach Collins, and Melo. Melo wants to show that he could
He's looking
still.
skinny.
He's
Looking
we got
skinny.
skinny Mello. We got skinny Mello in the building. With C.J. McCollum still and Dame. I mean, they were in the Western Conference Finals last year. I know. And listen, they got swept, but they had the Warriors in a lot of those games, so it could have went either way. But that could, I think they could give the Lakers some trouble, possibly.
I think if the season never canceled, the Blazers probably would have been in the playoffs. I think they would have got fully healthy. Nurk would have made a huge impact there. And they would, I mean, they're only 3.5 games back now, but with only 8 games,
It's
you
tough.
basically got to win 6 to 8 of
It's
them.
going to be tough.
They got, I mean, everybody on that team's got to be playing their absolute best. And
Yeah.
I don't think guys like Mario Hezonja ever played an entire 8-game stretch in their life that's consistent.
No. Former Nick
They got a lot of those players.
Yeah, but it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, Memphis is they've been surprising. I mean, John Moran has definitely took that team to a whole nother level, and they got them playing great basketball, and definitely the future is bright for those teams. I mean, and then you got New Orleans too. We know the NBA really wants the New Orleans to be great. With Zion and all that.
He's out though. He's
out.
out.
Yeah, I know he left. He's supposedly coming back. But
let's hope.
The Zion train. How do you feel about the Zion train? Like, it feels like they're full on board of him being, the successor for LeBron James as far as being the face of the league. Do you think it's too much? Do you think it's too much, or it's enough?
No, it's too much. It's too much too soon. I've never been a guy that's anointed players too quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he's been amazing in his 22 games or whatever, but it's 22 games.
Yeah,
let's see you play 60 of them at least. I mean, you're not considered healthy unless you play 65 games, but let me see 60. Put them together. Let's see it carry a team. I mean, a lot of people have had good 20-game stretches.
Of course, yeah.
I need to see a lot more, but he's going to have to jump so many players, though, to become the ultimate face of the league. Yes, ESPN's doing everything they can. Social media's got this guy's back for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to be the best player in the league to be the face of the league. Yeah. I don't think that's the case. And I think more and more with the social media generation, he's going to have a chance, even if he's the 10th or 15th best player, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it's ridiculous when you think about it. The NBA went to 22 teams. I think a large majority of it because of Zion Williamson, just to get more games.
Yeah. He's a ratings monster, though. You got to give him that. He is a ratings monster. So
I absolutely love watching him, but he's taken away a lot from like Brandon Ingram in the season he's having, and
breakout season, tremendous, all-star. I mean, that's tremendous. I mean, even Lonzo was playing good for them, and they definitely have a definitely up-and-coming team for sure. So, the Zion train is definitely I think he only played 19 regular season games, and yes, he was good in those games. But it's crazy that it's just the NBA is full. I mean, he's on the cover of 2K and they had the 3 cover athletes, and he's one of the already 19 games in, he's already one of the covers of 2K, and it's just he's been. It's kind of like LeBron. We feel like we've known him since 16 years old. He's been
right.
A part of social media. Million followers and just this crazy following he's had, and it's just. If he stays healthy, he could possibly be the next face. We still have obviously health is big. He's already dealt with some injuries, so that's one thing that he's got to overcome. But if everything goes well, he could possibly be the face. But that's still to come because there's so much talent in the league, so much young talent in the league that could be the face of the league. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes for him.
He really hasn't shocked me, though, by his statistics and the way he's played so far. I really did see this coming. But I will never say he's fully there until a large sample size, 40-plus, 60-plus games, and then he gets into the playoffs, because even then, Giannis isn't Giannis in the playoffs. We haven't seen
This is big. Yeah.
Giannis being a top 5 player in the playoffs yet. So
Hmm.
I compare Zion a lot to him, and in regards to how he can get slowed down in the playoffs. And I think it's going to change once teams understand what Zion really is and get that true sample size out of him, and then they match up with them in the playoffs, and things
Yeah.
start really slowing down. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely agree. So I'll go to the next topic. Who do you think has the most pressure player wise? What players do you think have the most pressure for this, this upcoming playoffs?
So the three that come to mind more than anything would be LeBron number one, because one, I mean, he wanted this to happen because he knows his days are winding down and history's at stake here. And I truly think he only needs one or two more to be crowned the GOAT for me. I mean, I've always been Jordan, 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 and
Mm-hmm.
I do think I'm not going to get deep into the GOAT debate right now,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it is Jordan until LeBron wins at least one or two more. And
Agree.
it depends how LeBron wins those as well.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but outside of that, Giannis, I mean, his career and a transition could be happening here if they don't keep going deep in the playoffs. So I don't think he's leaving if they don't win. I think he leaves if they fall short in like the Eastern Conference Finals and they lose in like 5 or less, you know. But if
Yeah,
they
yeah.
go 6 or more, I think he stays a little longer, just
Mm-hmm.
as long as they keep doing that and showing improvements and guys around him are gelling and he likes his teammates and everything. Lastly, I'd say James Harden, uh, just for the fact he's arguably can be the best player in the league at times, and he's the best player in the league that's not hasn't made a finals. He's got that title until he doesn't, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I don't think James Harden's really underachieved. Okay, I think he's ran into the greatest team of all time. But if he loses to a team this year, it can change in a matter of seconds. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
it can just be one playoff series, and there you go. Your whole opinion on somebody and theories change.
Yeah.
So James is just literally, to me, he's got to just beat who he's supposed to beat and just play as good as he can play in the playoffs without falling short, you know?
Yeah.
Like my expectation for the Rockets would be you can lose to the Clippers and the Lakers. That's it.
Exactly.
If
Yeah.
you lose
Agreed.
if you lose to anybody else, that's falling short.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to get at least 2 games off those other 2 teams for me to not say you're falling short.
Yeah.
It's a pretty simple formula, but it's not easy to accomplish.
Yeah, especially they've had, they changed their roster big time, and no Clint Capella, so the size, even if they were to go against Denver, they got Jokic. I know he's
Right.
slimmed down now; he looks like a wing now. So that's going to be interesting to see how he'll hit that affects his play and how he'll play, because he's usually in the post a lot, but yeah, I mean, when they go against teams with size, I mean, I think that's going to be interesting to see how they, because the one thing to do in the regular season when you're playing against bad teams, I mean, they had some success, but to do it in a 7-game series, and seeing the same guys, I wonder how that's going to, how that'll play against big teams, even like OKC, you got Steven Adams, how do they
For
handle
sure.
stuff like that? So I think that's going to be their biggest thing is how do they deal with got teams with size, because obviously PJ Tucker is I think their biggest man right now at 6'7".
Robert Covington.
Yeah, Robert Covington, 6'7",
Yeah.
6'8" guys who obviously are not. Robert Covington's not going to be in the post guarding Nikola Jokic.
Oh, he will be.
He's
Not
going to have
meaning
to.
he should be.
He shouldn't, but he's going to have to because he's probably their biggest
Yeah.
man. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing with the Rockets, how they figure out how to deal with it. Because listen, I know the NBA has kind of reverted, the days of the big men have gone a little bit, and it's kind of upsetting. But you still need size, in this league to win, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Rockets handle that.
I've been begging all year for the Rockets just to play a guy like Isaiah Hartenstein or even Tyson Chandler, just 10 to 20 minutes a game. Just have somebody ready and warm. I don't care when they're playing. Just get them that many minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And any big, those are the two bigs they've had on their roster more than anything. And yet They
They
refuse
don't
to.
play him.
So they're fully committed. And the thing is, Harden's gone through many different rosters, many different players. None of them, he's never had a perfect fit. He's a player that's never had a perfect fit for players around him wise. And the talent's never been like that amazing. I mean, from top to bottom, or even the top tier talent. I mean, it's been Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook. He's never, compared to the other top 5 players, he hasn't had teams that he's had the worst teams. That's for sure. So I do give Harden true context and catch him slack in regards to all those things, putting it into true perspective. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you're really that good, let's see it. Just get it done.
Yeah,
Just get it done. Who else would you add that has a lot of pressure going into this?
I had the same 3 guys in different order. I think Giannis has the most pressure, and I put James at 2 and LeBron at 3. To me, he's cemented. If he's the GOAT, he's the GOAT. If he's behind Jordan, he's behind Jordan. I think either or. I think no matter what, that's going to be his legacy. He's going to be considered the best or number 2, and that's fine.
Okay.
But Harden and Giannis, their legacies hinder on winning a championship because they've done everything else. I mean, MVPs. Harden's won scoring titles. Giannis probably going to win his 2nd MVP. But if he gets, like you said, if he gets bounced in the conference finals or even before that,
right.
it's going to be that pressure is going to be added for not just him and Milwaukee too, because now the clock's ticking. The clock is ticking because now it's like, okay, he's free agency will be here next year like this, and then they can easily lose out the way the Cleveland lost out with LeBron and Oklahoma City lost out on Kevin Durant. He's going to be that level free agent. He's going to be one of the top free agents of all time. So to lose him would be devastating. So this is big for them to figure it out. So I think the pressure's on Giannis. He was up 2-0 last year, and then Toronto figured him out, and then they dominated the next 4 games, and he was lost, and he's got to overcome that because now it was like, okay, Giannis it's fun and cool, but now he's getting to that stage in his career. You get your 2nd back-to-back MVP. Now you're at a different level. He's at a different level, so that pressure is just going to be greater and greater. And I know he's developed he has a respectable jump shot now. It's not perfect. He's only shooting like 30% from 3, but at least he's added that aspect where it's more respectable. So hopefully we'll see how that will work in the playoffs. So it's, because like I said, Toronto just built the wall and said, all right, you can only drive. We're not even going to allow you to get past the free throw line. And it worked. So hopefully we'll see how that works. But yeah, I have the same 3, just different order because Harden, a lot of pressure too, because, this might be their last chance to, if that window is like this, it's like this much, that window to break through and try to win it. Because I don't know, how this team will look in the next coming year. If they try to blow it up a little bit, if Westbrook's going to be there next year, I don't know. That's the one thing I don't know with Westbrook, with Harden and the Rockets.
Yeah, that irks me just a tad because at the end, like many people are in your camp and saying that the Rockets window, and it's like, as long as you have James Harden, your window is there, and as long as he is 100% and his window isn't much longer. I mean, it all depends on what you think his window is.
Yeah.
Like I personally think he's got probably 5 more really good years.
I just don't, the team around him. I don't know what they're trying to do there. Sometimes it feels
but I mean, they've really just tried to fill the best players, period, and they've never really been able to get great talent around him. It's just the way it goes, and he's gotten players like the best players he's gotten don't really fit. I mean, Dwight, sure, game style fit, but personalities they didn't fit. Chris Paul, their game styles didn't fit at all. Russell Westbrook, game styles don't fit at all, but their personalities actually fit.
Yeah.
So that helps. But at the end of the day, Westbrook's not compared to like Kawhi and Paul George, LeBron and AD, like it's not the same fit, and it's tough. And you can't fault Harden for that.
No.
But at the end of the day, I truly think the Rockets, as long as you got James Harden, no matter who you put around him, like that's why he is as good as he is, because he makes everybody around him better, but he'll elevate you to 50 wins no matter who the hell is around him.
Oh, yeah. And he's shown that in the past.
Okay, speaking of Giannis real quick, what would you say is falling short this year. Because for me, I think a bad season for the Bucks would be just not making the finals.
Fine,
Okay,
agree. Yep.
you can make
Agree.
the as long as they make the finals, you could get swept and blown out in every single game. That's an improvement off last year. You're still moving forward,
Yeah.
but you're losing to a better competition.
Yeah, I think I agree. They have to get to the finals for them to have for their organization to feel like,
Yeah,
okay, we have a chance to keep him for the future,
right.
and for him to feel. But if they fall short and they lose in 5 games in the conference finals, or even get bounced off earlier, I mean, that's just if they even get bounced off in the second, or that's catastrophic for them. That's like, oh my
Oh,
God,
sure.
this is awful. That they can't afford that. But yeah, I think they got to get to the finals for Giannis to have that, like, and that's going to be tough. It's not going to be, I think losing Brogdon is huge. I think a guy like
I'm a
him who
big Brogdon guy. I really am. And
Brogdon is a solid, he's a solid defender, can shoot. I think that loss, will be tough is going to be tough for them. But Middleton has a pressure too. That's another guy.
he's
You
been
put
really
him
good
in
in
it.
the playoffs, though.
He's
Super
gonna have
underrated.
pressure
I
too,
love Middleton.
because to be that number two for Giannis, because this they're gonna have to rely on him just as much as Giannis. He's gonna
Oh,
have
yeah.
to be that Robin to his Batman. So he's
He's
gonna
not
have
afraid.
yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see, because he's had a tremendous season. He's I don't people realize how good of a season he's had. He's been absolutely tremendous here. 22 points. I think he's in the 50, 90, 40 club. He's been that good, and all-star season. But there's going to be pressure on him too to definitely help Giannis and give them hope that they can
Right.
keep him around long term, because Giannis is big for them. Milwaukee. I mean, to have a guy like that and develop him and see the growth, and see him win possibly a second MVP and lose that. I mean, that could be catastrophic for them, big time.
He's a
So
dog for sure.
yeah. So I know you said you're big at you're doing a lot of NBA draft stuff, and you've been big on that. So just give me a few guys that you like a lot in this draft.
All right. So just in general, guys I like.
Yeah, in general, guys that you're really high on.
Okay. I really like Onyeka Okongwu.
Yeah,
I
USC
like
good.
Killian Hayes, and then Devin Vassell. I mean, those guys are towards the
Florida
top.
State, yeah.
But then, like, this is just rattling off the top of my head. I mean, Sadiq Bey, Grant Ryler.
He could shoot. Grant Riley could shoot it, man.
That dude. I mean, yeah. Outside of the looks, I mean,
Yeah.
I truly think he can be a guy like from a smaller school, kind of like a Fred VanVleet, and he plays
Yeah.
similar styles to him. It's hard to ignore the exact like look. They look
They're
very
very
similar.
very similar, very
Physical.
similar. Yeah.
But I mean, I truly think this draft is a very deep draft.
It is. It very
Just
is.
not top talent. I just don't think the top talent's as
No,
good
there's
as
not a lot of
past
blue
drafts.
chip guys. Yeah, there's not
Right.
the true blue chip guys.
But I truly think you can definitely have guys for the future in this draft, and you can find them all the way to the early second round, no doubt.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, just doing my own stuff too. I mean, you can get some solid role players in the second round. I mean, the point guards the guards in this draft is super deep, so deep. Who are some of the guards you like in this
Why?
draft?
You got a couple or what? For me, I mean, Killian Hayes, definitely, he's my favorite prospect in the whole draft.
Oh yeah, he's my top guy too. He's so smooth. He reminds me a lot of D'Angelo Russell. He's got that kind of D'Angelo Russell
Yeah,
vibe.
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, outside of lefty, I mean, they play but Killian's going to be a much better defender.
Oh yeah, way better defender than D'Angelo
I just
Russell.
don't know if he'll ever have the offensive game as D'Lo, but I think he can be the player he is.
Yeah, for sure. How do you like LaMelo?
Do you see that? So he's in my tier 1. I have Edwards ahead of him. Melo's my 2, but it's just because his ceiling's so high. I think his floor is actually pretty low, and a lot of people will criticize me for that. But the reason why I say that is, like, Edwards, I think, is going to be good no matter where he goes.
Yeah.
That's why he's number 1 for me. LaMelo Ball is kind of the way this whole draft is. for the most part is
Mm-hmm.
it's going to depend more on your fit than it's ever has in an NBA draft ever that I can recall. He's going to need an exact perfect fit for him to reach his full potential.
Yeah.
Kind of like his brother a little bit, and his brother's got it now in New Orleans. The fit is
Yeah.
just unbelievable in New Orleans, and I think he's gonna reach his full ceiling, which is gonna be awesome. But
Oh yeah.
Melo, I mean, there's maybe only half the teams, I mean, that he'd reach his full ceiling with. It's that low for me. So that's why his floor comes into play heavily for me, where I could see him, like, I wouldn't criticize you if he dropped a few spots, but what's your take on it?
I mean, I originally with LaMelo, what worried about me with him is obviously he's been in the spotlight for so long, and you know, with social media and just the fame, and he has the money already. Just coming into the league, you know, you see a lot of these guys who come into the league and they got a chip on their shoulder, and
Right.
that's what thrives, you know, makes them, you know, become great or whatever. And that was one thing I worried about, is that will he have that drive to be great? Because he's, like I said, he has the money, he has everything you can imagine already. You know, he's built a, you know, big baller brand the way he's been in the spotlight for so long, and that was something I'm like, is he gonna come in with that same, you know, that same will to
Yeah.
want great? You know, because if he doesn't be great, it's like, okay, whatever, I'm not okay, whatever, like I'm still good. You know, I'm still gonna be fine in life. But you
Yeah.
know, and that's the one thing I was worried. But now that I've watched a little bit more, I feel, you know, and just, you know, reading reports and all that, but I feel like, okay, I'm getting on board with him. And like, I love his passing. I think he's a
Right. No,
tremendous
that's
passer, elite
might be
passer.
the
Like,
best singular skill in the entire draft. I
yeah,
don't agree to that. I don't think it's the best singular skill in the draft,
mm-hmm.
LaMelo's passing, but I can see that people that do.
Yeah, yeah. I
For
think
me, I'd rather go with shooters
yeah,
than LaMelo's passing.
yeah, yeah. Do you think he's a good fit for my New York Knicks? You think that would be? I know
I do
that.
think I
I
do.
know people love with. I know Big Ball LeVar would love New York, and that would be,
Yeah.
you know, it could be a circus too as well. But how do you like that fit possibly being in New York? Because it seems like they want it. They want New York, and New York wants
Right.
them. It's just a matter of, we don't know where the draft, we don't know where the lottery is. You know, the Knicks can, you know, get the eighth pick for all we know.
Yep.
So it all depends on the lottery. But if that were to happen, how do you like that fit possibly?
They would be one of my teams. I'd say it'd be a very good fit. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I'd like a few more shooters there. That's for
Yeah, yeah, that
sure.
would
I
have to.
want a
Yeah,
few
yeah.
more shooters around him. But the fact is, I mean, he can go in and start right away there. I think him and RJ would run pretty well together. Julius Randle would be decent with them. I'm not gonna
Mm-hmm.
say great. I like Mitchell Robinson.
Pick and
So
roll with
those
him would be
Yeah, those
tremendous.
three for sure. As long as you can throw a shooter in with those four guys, I think that'd be fine. I think that'd be a start. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that'd be a foundation that the Knicks haven't had in years. You know,
Yeah.
actually a lot of hope. So
Mm-hmm.
like, give me LaMelo, RJ, Julius, Mitchell Robinson, and then somebody who can just stroke the shit out of the ball, and I'd be pretty happy.
Yeah, yeah. They gotta figure out maybe a Joe Harris type player,
Right,
you know,
exactly.
someone
That's
like
good.
that to add. I think that's definitely
Duncan Robinson. You know.
Duncan Rom. Yeah, got to get that type of player. But LaMelo in New York, you know, like I said, I wasn't crazy about it at first, but now that, you know, now that we're getting, you know, as the time has gone by, I'm like, okay, I think I might be on board with LaMelo in New York. Is there any sleepers that you like? Any deep sleepers that you really been having your eye on?
Let me see if I can come up with one that. Uh, so a guy, I mean, Tyrell Terry. I don't know how much you think he's a sleeper, but like I
Stanford
have
kid,
him.
right?
Yes. So I mean, he's tiny. He's
Yeah,
literally
he's
like,
small,
he's like 6'1", buck
but
60. Okay. Yeah.
he's slender.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 5'9" and I'm a buck 60. So
Yeah.
just imagine me out there, but with a couple inches, obviously. But with that said, I think he could have the best stroke in the draft,
Yeah, he'd be
and
screwed.
I think just the way he fits this league perfectly. I truly believe he can come in and make an impact right away as long as he's getting the opportunity.
Hmm.
And he's not afraid. Like he's, I was going to throw out a really bad comparison there, but uh, the way he moves, I mean, he can play with and off ball very well. Um, I believe he can be a plus defender. I really do. That's why I have him 16th on my board. But like, there's people that have him low second round. That's why I think this guy's a sleeper. Um, Outside of him, Jamias Ramsey, I'm really high on
Oh
him.
yeah, the Texas, right? Texas Tech, right?
Yep, yep. Desmond Bain,
Bain,
and then
yeah, I've heard
outside
a
of
lot of.
that, I mean, like a Mason Jones could be a late pick that I'd like to see. Um, then there's a few guys that were good in college that like were seniors and whatnot. I'm actually higher on than most, and
Mhm.
I value those guys that could be sleepers. But those would be the ones I just stated. I'd say those would be the ones
Yeah, yeah.
more than anything.
Yeah, there's I have a couple guys too. I've actually got to interview them too. Eugene Herman, from Northern Illinois. I mean, he averaged 20 points a game the last 3 years, and he's just a pure bucket. He's just a guy that could just go out there and just give you just score. He's definitely someone that has definitely been rising up too. I've seen a lot of people have him possibly a late second round, undrafted guy, but he's definitely rised up some people's ranking.
Okay,
And Isaiah Mike too from SMU.
that
He's
guy
def
I've heard of. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's a wing, and he can he's definitely solid too. That's definitely someone. He could definitely can move. He's a nice wing. He could shoot a little bit, and he's definitely someone but those are super deep guys. But
those are.
yeah, yeah. But this draft is kind of one of those drafts where the range, everyone's range for players is
Yeah,
so like I've seen
why?
people have
Right.
Obi Toppin like 3 and then have
Yeah.
him 30. And then like
Right.
I think that's crazy that people think he's in the 30s. Like I think he's
Right.
a top 10 pick. But it's just like it's all over the place. No one has a consensus number one. And
Right.
but that's also good because that means there's so much talent. There's going to be a lot of good players. I don't know how many blue chip guys there are, but there's definitely a lot of talent in this draft and a lot of good players that could be key pieces to some solid teams.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a great point. And it's funny. I happen to be one who has Obi Toppin in the top five. Uh, I I just think his offensive game is going to be
It's so good,
immediately
yes.
impactful and very, very good. And I'm not as worried on his defense as many
You
other
know,
people.
people are so keen up on the
Right.
defense part, and they have him because of
Yeah,
his.
yeah.
He doesn't play great defense, and he's old, quote unquote
I think he's got
old.
a chance to be even better than John Collins. That
Yeah,
type, and I'm as big of a John Collins guy as there is.
tremendous.
John
Yeah,
Collins is my dude.
yeah,
Uh, but I think Obi Toppin can. I mean, when John Collins wants to, he can be a plus defender. But he
exactly. Yeah.
overall, there's many people that don't think he is a plus defender, which
Hmm.
I'd probably lean towards that way as well. But there's no way of denying his offensive
Yeah,
abilities.
I
And
think that.
Obi Toppin, it can be that good with a 3-pointer.
Yeah, he's so good offensively. Like it makes up for anything he lacks defensively, and I think that's
Yep.
kind of been overblown to an extent too. And people are really worried about the age thing, like that. But that's even better because he's going to come right in and he's going to be an instant impact
Polish.
player instead of
Right.
waiting for 3 years for a 19-year-old to develop. We've seen
Right.
how many guys we've seen come in the league. They're super so young, and then we have to wait 3 years for them to develop. He's coming in and he's going to be instant impact. So why is that
Right.
people putting the age thing and then the defense and then having him in the 30s? I'm like, I saw someone today do that and I couldn't believe it. Like the 30s? You think he's going to drop to the 30s? Like you think
Right.
he's a second round, a bottom first, second round pick? I just
Right.
thought that was absolutely absurd, and I don't get
Well,
it. I don't get it.
people focus too much, I think, on the dust of players, this imaginary pixie dust that they think just because they see fundamentals or a way a guy looks or moves and or does something, but he actually doesn't do it on the basketball court on a
Mm-hmm.
consistent level, and they focus too much on these imaginary things and versus what a player truly is right now, and what
Mm-hmm.
we know, what the actual facts are.
Yes.
Okay, and I think people have gotten lost on that for years, and
Mhm.
we'll see.
And then he
I
went
think
against Anthony Edwards and against Georgia early in the season, and he was 25 and I think 12, and
right,
he dominated in the post, and he showed, okay, I could play against big time competition, and then he took his team to being a number one, that was going to be a number one seed, and player of the year. He
yeah,
sprung that team that was an NIT team the year before to they were going to be maybe a number one overall seed if
right.
obviously coronavirus hadn't happened and we had a March Madness, they would have been a number one seed, player of the year. And I don't get why people are just so down on him, but he's
And people focus way too much on negatives they've seen in
too much negatives.
a couple videos here and there, and like I focus on the facts and the
Hmm.
positives, because I feel like these guys are still young enough where things change, and we see things change all the time, whether
Exactly. Yeah.
it's a bad shooter turning good in the NBA, or it's a bad defender turning good, or a really good defender turning bad, or going the other way. And it's like, it's
They're
such a crapshoot at
yeah,
times. That's why I like to just focus on the positives and what we actually know the facts
exactly.
are.
And then letting him develop. I mean, who would have thought Russell Westbrook would have been this triple double 3 straight years an MVP? I mean, he came
Yeah,
in and people like, oh, he's just going to be a solid defender in the league. He got taken too high, and look at him now.
right.
He's one of the best players in the league, an MVP, 3 straight triple doubles in the season. So like, you just gotta trust the process and just let. I think Toppin's a top 5 player. I think he's tremendous. So I don't know how
Cool.
people are
We'll be on
promoting.
the same board there.
Yeah. But Zach, man, I appreciate you coming on the show. This was definitely fun, man. This is a pleasure to have you on, man.
No, I really appreciate it. Fun time, and hit me up anytime, man.
Yeah, for sure. Where can people find you and your podcast? Just plug whatever you can.
Really appreciate it. So basically, I'm only on Twitter. That's the only place you're gonna find me.
Hmm.
ZAKNOBLE. And then our podcast, 4 seasons, 4SDNS, and then you can catch us anywhere you listen to podcasts, and then all over Ballislife.
Cool. And like I said, man, I'm happy that you came on the show. I'm finally, we finally got to get this going, and and I'm wishing you nothing but the best. Congratulations on the baby again. Stay, drink some coffee. Got to stay up. I've been
Got my
there before.
caffeine.
There you go, and God bless with that, and nothing but best wishes for you, and nothing but success, man. I'm rooting for you, and continue to listen. Like I said, I love your show and all that. So,
Appreciate you much, man. Thanks for your
I
support,
appreciate you.
and
I
be
appreciate you
well.
coming on.
Stay
Yeah,
happy and healthy.
you too, man. Take care. All right.
Thank you.